As twilight descended upon London, the streets of Mayfair bustled with life, oblivious to the dark legacy that loomed at 50 Berkeley Square. For centuries, tales of horror had surrounded the townhouse, tales that made it notorious among thrill-seekers and the paranormal curious. Despite its elegant façade, whispers of the attic's cursed history kept many at bay. The chilling events that transpired there often led to a sense of unease among those who dared venture near. It was said that the young woman, lost to despair, still roamed the attic, a shadow of her former self, seeking justice for the life she was denied. Visitors who ventured too close to the attic often reported feelings of dread and an overwhelming sense of sorrow that clung to the air like a heavy fog. One fateful evening, a group of paranormal investigators, led by a determined woman named Eliza, decided to unravel the mysteries of 50 Berkeley Square. Armed with the latest ghost hunting equipment, infrared cameras, EMF detectors, and spirit boxes, they set out to uncover the truth behind the haunting. As they approached the entrance, the atmosphere shifted, the air crackling with tension. Eliza glanced at her companions, a mix of skepticism and excitement evident on their faces. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her heart racing with anticipation. "Ready as we'll ever be," replied Tom, the team's tech expert, adjusting his camera gear. "Let's see what this place really holds." They ascended the creaky staircase, the wood groaning underfoot as they made their way to the attic. As they reached the top, Eliza paused, feeling a chill sweep through her. The door to the attic stood slightly ajar, a dark void beyond it that seemed to beckon them in. "After you," Tom said, gesturing for Eliza to lead the way. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open, revealing the attic in all its unsettling glory. Dust motes danced in the narrow beam of moonlight that filtered through the grimy window, casting eerie shadows across the room. Eliza's heart raced as they stepped inside. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, and the temperature dropped noticeably. "Set up the cameras," she instructed, her voice steady despite the unease creeping in. As they positioned their equipment, Eliza took a moment to survey the room. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper, peeling in places, and a rickety bed sat against one wall, draped in a tattered quilt. It was a somber reminder of the past, evoking a sense of melancholy that hung heavily in the air. Once everything was ready, Eliza gathered her team in a circle. "Let's start with a spirit box session," she suggested. "If there's anyone here with us, we invite you to communicate." Tom activated the device, and a crackling noise filled the air, followed by a series of static-filled words. "Is anyone there?" Eliza called out, her voice echoing softly. "Can you tell us your name?" For several moments, there was nothing but silence, the only sound the low hum of the equipment. Just as Eliza was about to call it quits, a faint voice crackled through the static, sending shivers down her spine. "Help me!" The voice was weak, filled with desperation. Eliza exchanged glances with her team, the atmosphere suddenly charged with a sense of urgency. "Can you tell us what happened to you?" she asked, her heart pounding. "Uncle Payne," came the response, barely audible yet chillingly clear. The team shared anxious glances, the weight of the woman's sorrow hanging heavily in the air. "What can we do to help you?" Eliza pressed, her voice trembling slightly. "Release," the voice whispered, fading into static. As the session continued, the team began to experience a series of strange phenomena. Shadows flitted across the walls, and the temperature dropped dramatically, a bone-deep chill that left them shivering. The atmosphere grew oppressive, and several members of the team reported feelings of dizziness and disorientation. Suddenly, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang, rattling the walls. Eliza's heart raced as she rushed to open it, but it wouldn't budge. "It's stuck!" she exclaimed, panic rising in her chest. "Everyone, stay calm," Tom shouted, trying to pry the door open. But as he pulled, a low, mournful wail echoed through the attic, chilling them to the core. It was the sound of a woman in despair, a cry that resonated with the very fabric of the house. "Whoever you are, we're here to help you," Eliza called out, trying to stay focused. "We just want to understand." The wailing intensified, almost drowning out their voices. In that moment, Eliza felt a surge of energy, a rush of emotion that swept through her like a tide. It was as if the very essence of the woman's spirit was trying to break free, to express the pain and suffering she had endured. Just as hope began to wane, the door creaked open on its own, revealing the darkness beyond. Eliza and her team stumbled out, gasping for air as the atmosphere lightened, the oppressive weight lifting from their shoulders. They stood outside the attic, panting, hearts racing. "That was insane," Tom exclaimed, glancing back at the attic door. "Did you feel that?" "Yes," Eliza replied, her voice shaky but resolute. "We need to come back. There's so much more to uncover." As they descended the stairs, Eliza felt a sense of purpose rising within her. The spirit of the young woman needed to be acknowledged. Her story needed to be told. With determination igniting her heart, Eliza vowed to return, not just as an investigator, but as a voice for the forgotten, a champion for the lost souls of 50 Berkeley Square. And as they stepped out into the cool London night, the echoes of the past whispered around them, promising that their journey was far from over. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. The following weeks were filled with research and planning as Eliza and her team delved deeper into the history of 50 Berkeley Square. They scoured old newspapers, historical records, and personal accounts, piecing together the tragic tale of the young woman who had met her untimely end in the attic. They learned her name was Annabelle, a bright and spirited girl whose life had been marred by her uncle's cruelty. As they uncovered more details, Eliza felt an even stronger connection to Annabelle's spirit. Each new piece of information about her life and struggles fueled Eliza's determination to help her find peace. One chilly evening, armed with their gear and a deeper understanding of the history, Eliza and her team returned to the townhouse, ready to confront the unknown once more. The air was electric as they approached the entrance, and Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As they climbed the familiar creaky staircase to the attic, they shared nervous glances, excitement mingling with fear. The door to the attic stood slightly ajar once more, the darkness within seeming to pulse with anticipation. "Let's set up a more extensive session this time," Tom suggested, pulling out a series of devices designed for communication with spirits. "We'll try to capture any energy fluctuations and see if we can get more clarity on what she needs." Once everything was in place, they formed a circle in the center of the attic, dimming the lights to create an intimate atmosphere. Eliza took a deep breath, her heart pounding as she felt the weight of the room settle around them. "Annabelle," she called softly, her voice echoing into the silence. "We're here for you. We want to help you. Can you show us that you're with us?" The atmosphere thickened, and a cold breeze swept through the attic, causing the hairs on the back of Eliza's neck to stand on end. She shivered, feeling an undeniable presence in the room. A flickering light appeared in the corner of the attic, capturing the group's attention. It pulsed rhythmically, and Eliza's heart raced with hope. "Is that you, Annabelle?" she asked, her voice steadying as she reached out toward the light. In response, the light intensified and began to form into shapes, first a swirl, then a shadowy outline of a young woman, ethereal and shimmering. The apparition looked at them with wide, sorrowful eyes that conveyed years of suffering. "Please, help," Annabelle's voice resonated, a fragile echo that tugged at Eliza's heart. "What do you need from us?" Eliza implored, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. "Tell us how we can help you find peace." The spectral figure hesitated, and Eliza could sense a torrent of emotions swirling within Annabelle. "I cannot rest until the truth is known. My story must be told." Eliza exchanged glances with her team, a mix of determination and empathy surging through her. "We will tell your story," she promised. "We will make sure everyone knows what happened to you." Suddenly, the room trembled, and the temperature plummeted. A gust of wind whipped through the attic, scattering papers and sending the equipment into disarray. The lights flickered ominously, and Eliza struggled to maintain her focus. "Stay together," Tom shouted, gripping the edge of a table to steady himself. "Annabelle, please, we want to help you." The spectral figure faded momentarily, replaced by a rush of shadowy forms that encircled the group. Panic surged among the team as they felt the temperature drop even further, an overwhelming sense of dread creeping in. "Don't be afraid," Eliza called out, trying to reassure both her team and the restless spirits. "We're here for you. We want to help you find peace." In response, the shadows began to recede, and Annabelle reappeared, her face etched with desperation. "You must find my letters, my journals. The truth lies within them. Only then will I be free." Eliza nodded, determination igniting within her. "We will find them, Annabelle. We promise." With a final surge of energy, Annabelle's form shimmered brightly before dissipating into the air, leaving the attic still once more. The oppressive weight that had filled the room lifted, replaced by an eerie calm. The team stood in silence, absorbing what had just transpired. "Did that really just happen?" one of them whispered, their voice barely above a breath. "We need to act fast," Eliza urged, a new sense of urgency driving her forward. "If there are letters or journals, they have to be in the house somewhere. We'll find them and tell her story." As they began to search the attic for any signs of Annabelle's belongings, Eliza felt a surge of determination. They combed through dusty boxes and forgotten corners, each moment pulsing with the hope of uncovering the truth. Hours passed, and just as exhaustion threatened to set in, Tom called out from a corner of the room. "Over here. I think I found something." He uncovered a small, ornate box hidden beneath a loose floorboard, its lid covered in dust but adorned with delicate carvings. Eliza's heart raced as they gathered around Tom, anticipation building. "Open it," she urged, her voice filled with excitement. Tom hesitated for a moment, then carefully lifted the lid. Inside lay a collection of faded letters, tied together with a fraying ribbon, along with a worn leather journal that had clearly seen better days. Eliza's hands trembled as she took the journal, feeling the weight of history resting in her palms. "This must be it," she whispered, eyes wide with wonder. "We've found Annabelle's story." With renewed purpose, they gathered their equipment and began to document their findings. As Eliza carefully opened the journal, she knew they were on the brink of something significant, a moment that could finally grant Annabelle the peace she so desperately sought. But as she read the first entry, a chill ran down her spine. The words were more than just a narrative. They held the key to the darkness that had enveloped the attic for far too long. Each line spoke of pain, betrayal, and the haunting reality that had kept Annabelle tethered to this world. Just then, a loud bang echoed through the attic, making them jump. A shadow flickered in the corner of the room, a chilling reminder that their journey was far from over. Eliza felt the tension in the air thicken, the spirits still restless, their stories still yearning to be heard. They were about to uncover the truth, but what other secrets would be revealed before this night was through? As Eliza absorbed the weight of the journal's contents, her breath quickened. The entries were raw, filled with Annabelle's thoughts and emotions, her dreams, her fears, and ultimately, the heartbreak that led her to the attic that fateful night. Each word painted a vivid picture of a life stifled by oppression and sorrow. She flipped through the pages, skimming the passages until she reached an entry dated just days before Annabelle's death. The handwriting became frantic, almost desperate. "I cannot stay here any longer," it read. "The darkness is closing in, and I feel my spirit fading. If anyone finds this, know that I fought for my freedom, but it was stolen from me." Eliza's heart ached for the girl trapped in the pages of time. "This is it," she murmured, turning to her team. "This is the truth she wanted us to find. We have to share this, to tell her story to the world." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted once more. The air grew thick, and a low rumbling sound echoed from the corners of the attic. Tom glanced nervously around, gripping the edge of a table for support. "What's happening?" Before Eliza could respond, the lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness. A piercing scream echoed in the confines of the attic, sending a wave of terror through the group. "Get the lights back on," Eliza shouted, her voice strained. Tom scrambled to turn on his flashlight, but the beam wavered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "I can't get it to stabilize," he exclaimed, panic rising in his voice. Eliza's heart raced as she clutched the journal tightly, feeling a surge of determination. "Annabelle, we're here for you. Show us what you need us to see." In response, a dim glow began to pulse in the corner of the room, illuminating the figure of Annabelle, translucent and flickering. She looked more sorrowful than ever, her eyes filled with anguish. The truth is not just in the letters," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise. "What do you mean?" Eliza asked, stepping closer, trying to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. "The truth is buried," Annabelle said, gesturing toward the floor. "You must dig deeper to set me free." Just as quickly as she appeared, Annabelle vanished, leaving the group in stunned silence. Eliza exchanged worried glances with her team, the weight of Annabelle's words settling heavily in the air. "We need to check the floor," Eliza said, her voice steadying as she regained her focus. "If something is buried here, it could be the key to everything." With urgency, they began to search the attic for any signs of a hidden compartment or disturbance in the floor. Eliza's heart raced as she felt around the edges of the room, her fingers brushing against the wood. "Help me move this," she instructed Tom, pointing to a section of the floor that seemed slightly uneven. As they pried up the boards, a cloud of dust billowed into the air, and they could see a small cavity beneath. Inside lay a weathered box, its corners dented and edges worn with time. "This must be it," Eliza said, excitement coursing through her veins. Carefully, she pulled the box out, its surface rough and cool to the touch. As she lifted the lid, the scent of aged paper and something more, a hint of decay, filled the air. Inside, she found several items: old letters, a locket containing a faded photograph, and a small diary that looked similar to Annabelle's. Eliza carefully opened the diary, revealing pages filled with Annabelle's uncle's scrawling handwriting. The words were dark, filled with sinister thoughts and plans that sent chills down Eliza's spine. It painted a picture of a man consumed by greed and power, willing to do anything to maintain control over his niece. "Guys, listen to this," Eliza said, her voice trembling with the implications of what she was reading. "He was planning to marry Annabelle off to secure his own fortune. She was nothing more than a pawn to him." A heavy silence fell over the group as they processed the revelations. The true nature of Annabelle's suffering was laid bare before them, the darkness she had lived under now exposed. Annabelle's uncle, he was the real monster, Tom muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. As they continued to sift through the contents of the box, they uncovered more letters that detailed a sinister plot involving Annabelle's inheritance. The realization of her uncle's manipulations weighed heavily on Eliza. "This is what she meant," she said softly. "This is the truth she wanted the world to know." The room around them grew colder again, and Eliza felt a familiar chill dance along her spine. "Annabelle," she called out, hoping to connect with the spirit once more. "We've found your truth. We can share this with everyone." Suddenly, the air crackled with energy, and Annabelle's spirit materialized before them, her form more defined than before. "Thank you," she said, her voice stronger now, filled with a mix of sorrow and gratitude. "You have given me a voice. You have uncovered what was hidden." Eliza felt tears prick at her eyes. "We will make sure your story is known. We'll make sure he cannot hurt anyone else." As Annabelle's figure shimmered, a sense of peace washed over the room, and the oppressive energy that had lingered for so long began to dissipate. "I can feel the chains lifting," Annabelle whispered, her face softening. "But I need you to promise to share my story, so that others may find their freedom." "We promise," Eliza vowed, her voice steady and resolute. "We will tell everyone what happened here. You will not be forgotten." With that, Annabelle's spirit began to fade, a soft smile gracing her lips. "Thank you," she whispered as she dissolved into the ether, leaving behind a lingering warmth that filled the attic with light. The room was silent, the only sound the soft rustle of the pages in the box, as the group stood in awe of what had just transpired. "We did it," Tom said, disbelief in his voice. "We really did it." Eliza nodded, overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. They had unearthed the truth, given Annabelle a voice, and with it, the chance for her spirit to finally find peace. As they gathered their equipment and prepared to leave, Eliza felt a profound sense of purpose. They would share Annabelle's story, not just as a ghostly tale but as a testament to resilience and the fight against oppression. With the journal clutched tightly in her hands and hope ignited in her heart, Eliza knew this was only the beginning. Annabelle's truth would echo through time, reminding others that even in darkness, there is always a path to light. But as they stepped into the night, a new thought crossed Eliza's mind. What other stories lay buried, waiting to be unearthed, in the shadows of London? And would she have the courage to seek them out, to confront whatever darkness lay ahead? As Eliza and her team descended the stairs from the attic, the weight of their mission settled in. They knew that sharing Annabelle's story was just the first step in a larger journey of uncovering hidden truths and giving voice to the silenced. In the weeks that followed, they compiled the journal and letters into a documentary, ensuring that Annabelle's tragic life would be known to all. The film premiered to a captivated audience, and Eliza was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. People reached out, sharing their own stories of oppression and struggle, inspired by Annabelle's resilience. As Eliza continued her research into other haunted locations, she found herself drawn to the stories of those who had suffered injustices, compelled to shine a light on their experiences. She realized that each ghostly tale held a lesson, a reminder that the past must be acknowledged to foster healing. Months later, standing outside 50 Berkeley Square, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Annabelle was finally at peace, and Eliza had become an advocate for the forgotten, using her passion for the paranormal to drive change in the world. As she stepped inside, ready to explore new mysteries, she couldn't help but feel that this was just the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would forever intertwine the living with the stories of those who had come before. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.